My name is Adeyemi Hamid. I'm going to be talking about denial of service attack. I'm going to be trying to take an overview approach in talking about denial of service attack. Denial of service attack are majorly implemented in two ways: by either forcing the targeted machine or system to reset or consuming its resources so that it can no longer provide its intended services. Victims of denial of service attack often target the web server of high-profile organizations such as banking, commerce, and media companies, or government parastatals and trade organizations. Though denial of service attacks do not typically result in theft or loss of significant information, but they tend to cost the victim a great deal of time and money to handle, which in turn can cause bad publicity and damage company's reputation. So we ask ourselves, what is denial of service attack? Denial of service attack is a malicious attempt to shut down a machine or a network, thereby deny legitimate user access to a particular resources, usually by temporarily interrupting or suspending the service, which in turn could lead to resource exhaustion. Without exhaustion in our disk space, CPU cycle, memory, network bandwidth, application resources. Examples of application resources I'm talking about are our TCP stack and web connections. Threat of denial of service. These are symptoms we should look at probably within our network or on our network, or we should look out for. They are as follows: unusual slow network performance in opening file or accessing websites, inability to access a particular or any websites, sudden increase in the number of spam email received, sudden disconnection of a wireless or wired internet connection. Now we're going to be talking about modes of attacks. Denial of service attack comes in a variety of forms and aim at a variety of services. But they are three basic types of attacks, which are as follows. We have consumption of scarce resources, destruction or disruption of information, physical destruction or disruption of network components. I'm going to try to talk about them briefly. Consumption of scarce resources. Well, we all know computers and network need certain things to operate, which are as follows: the network bandwidth, memory, disk space, CPU time, data structure, access to other computers and network, and certain environmental resources also such as power, air, and even water. Denial of service attacks are mostly frequently executed against network connectivity, and the goal is to prevent host or networks from communicating on the network. An example of this attack is sync flood. Disruption, Disruption or disruption of information. A computer or a machine not properly configured may not perform as well or may not even operate at all. And an intruder may be able to alter or destroy configuration information that prevents a user from accessing the computer or network. For example, if an intruder can change the routing information of the router, then the network could be disabled, which in turn can render the services useless. Or if an intruder is able to modify a registry of a Windows machine, then certain functions may be unavailable. Then physical destruction or destruction of network components. Well, we should guard against unauthorized access to computers, routers, network wiring closets, network backbones, segments, power and cooling stations, and any other critical components of your network. Physical security is a prime component in guiding against many types of attack, and also definitely denial of service attack. Now, common denial of service attack. Well, I guess we might have actually heard about this, or probably some of us already know about this already. But I'm just going to run through them and try to explain briefly or talk about it briefly. We have buffer overflow attack. We have ping of death. We have teardrop. We have sync flooding, LAN, and Smurf. So buffer overflow is the most common denial of service attack, or is the most common type of denial of service attack. The concept is to send more traffic to a network address than the programmer built the system to handle. Um, since the buffer can only hold a specific amount of data when the capacity has been reached, the data has to flow somewhere else, typically into another buffer, which can corrupt the data that is already contained in the buffer. Then we have ping of death. Ping of death is an attack taking advantage of a known bug in a TCP/IP implementation. The attacker tends to use the ping system utility to make up an IP packet that exceeds the maximum byte of data allowed by the IP specification. The maximum byte of about 65,536, which in turn causes the system to probably crash or reboot when they receive such an oversized packet. Then teardrop. Teardrop is an attack exploiting the weakness in the reassembly of IP packet fragments. The attacker tends to create a sequence of IP fragments with overlapping offset fields, which also intends causes the system, or which intends to cause the system to crash or reboot when they are trying to reassemble the malformed fragments. Then sync flooding. Sync flooding is an attack exploiting three-way handshaking of TCP, Transmission Control Protocol. The attackers tend to send the target system a flood of sync packets, which spoofed source address until the targeted system uses up all slots in its backlog queue. Then LAN. LAN is similar to sync flooding. The attacker tends to flood sync packet also into the network with a spoof source IP address of the targeted system. Then Smurf. Smurf tend to cripple your router with ICMP echo request packets. Then these are preventive measures. One could take to eliminate or reduce denial of service. I mean, it's not limited to these though, but I mean, these are preventive measures we could always take to eliminate denial of service attack, which is disable unused or unneeded network services, which can help limit the ability of an intruder to take advantage of those services to execute a denial of service attack. Maintaining a good firewall, implementing router filters like access list, routinely examine your physical security with respect to current needs, invest in redundant and fault tolerance configuration, observe your system performance and establish baselines for ordinary activities. Use baselines to guide unusual level of disk activity, CPU usage, or network traffic. If available, install patches to guide against TCP sync flooding. Establish and maintain regular backup schedule policies, especially access to highly especially or particularly for important configuration information. Then establish and maintain appropriate password policies, especially access to highly privileged accounts such as your Unix root or your Microsoft Windows administrator. I hope this was informative. Thank you for listening.